Hi friends, today we are going to speak about United States of America, the history of the lands that become the United States behind with the arrival of the first people in the Americas around 15,000 BC. Numerous indigenous cultures formed and many say transformation in the 16th century away from more densely populated lifestyles and towards reorganized politics. Elsewhere, the European colonization of the Americas began in the late 15th century. However, most colonies in what would later become the United States were settled after 1600. By the 1760s, the 13 British colonies contained 2.5 million people and were established along the Atlantic coast east of the Appalachian Mountains. The southern colonies built an agriculture system on slave labor, enslaving millions from Africa for this purpose. After defeating France, the British government imposed a series of taxes, including the Stamp Act of 1765, rejecting the colonists' constitutional argument that new taxes need their approval. Resistance to these taxes, especially the Boston Tea Party in 1773, led to Parliament issuing punitive laws designed to end self-government. Armed conflict began in Masters in 1775. In 1776, in Philadelphia, the Second Continental Congress declared the independence of the colonies as the United States, led by General George Washington. It won the Revolutionary War. The Peace Treaty of 1783 established the borders of the new sovereign state. The Articles of Confederation established a central government, but it was infected at providing stability as it could not collect taxes and had to executive officer. A conventor wrote a new constitution that was adopted in 1789 and a Bill of Rights was added in 1791 to guarantee inalienable rights, with Washington as the first president and Alexander Hamilton his chief advisor. A strong central government was created. Purchase of the Louisiana Territory from France in 1803 doubled the size of the United States. Encouraged by the notion of manifest destiny, the United States expanded to the Pacific coast. While the nation was large in terms of area, its population in 1790 was only 4 million. Westward expansion was driven by a ghost for inexpensive land for human farmers and slave owners. The expansions of slavery was increasingly controversial and fueled political and constitutional battles, which were resolved by compromise. Slavery was abolished in all states north of the Mason-Dixon line by 1804, but states in the south continued the institution to support the kinds of large-scale agriculture that dominated the southern economic. Precipitated by the election of Abraham Lincoln as president in 1860, the Civil War began as the southern state seceded from the Union to form their own pro-slavery country, the Confederate States of America. The defeat of the Confederates in 1865 led to the abolition of slavery. The Reconstruction era following the war, legal and voting rights were extended to freed male slaves. That national government emerged much stronger. They gained explicit duty to protect individual rights. However, when white Southern Democrats regained their political power in the South in 1877, often by parliamentary suppression of voting, they passed Jim Crow laws to maintain white supremacy, as well as new state constitution that legalized discriminations based on race and prevented most African Americans from participating in the public life. The United States became the world leading industrial power at the turn of the 20th century due to an outburst of entrepreneurships and industrialization and the arrival of million immigrant workers and farmers. A national railroad network was completed and large-scale mines and factories were established. Mass dissatisfaction with corruption, inefficiency, and traditional politics stimulated and progressive movement from the 1890 to the 1920, leading to reforms including the federal income tax, direct election of senators, granting of citizenships to many indigenous people, alcohol prohibition, and women suffrage initial neutral during World War. The United States declared war on January 1917 and founded the Allied victory the following year after the prosperous roaring 20s. The Wall Street crash of 1929 marked the onset of the decade-long worldwide Great Depression. President Franklin D. Roosevelt implemented his New Deal programs, including relief for the unemployed, support the farmers' social security, and a minimum wage. The New Deal defined modern American liberalism. Following the Japanese attack and Pearl Harbor by the United States entered World War II and financed the Allied war effort and helped the defeat Nazi Germany and fascist Italy in the European theater. Its involvement culminated in using newly American invented nuclear weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to defeat Imperial Japan in the Pacific War. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged in the rival superpowers in the aftermath of World War II. During the Cold War, the two countries confronted each other indirectly in the arms race, the space race, propaganda campaigns, and proxy wars in the 1960s. In large part due to the strength of the civil rights movement, another wave of social reforms was enacted which enforced the constitutional rights of voting and freedom of movement to Americans, Africans. In the 1980s, Ronald Reagan presidency religion American politics towards reduction in taxes and regulations. The Cold War ended when the Soviet Union was dissolved in 1991, leaving the United States as the world's sole superpower foreign policy after the Cold War. As often focused on many conflicts in the Middle East, especially after the September 11 attacks early in the 21st century, the United States experienced the Great Recessions and the COVID-19 pandemic, which had a negative effect on communities. Beginnings. Before 1630, it is not definitely known. However, when Native Americans first settled the American and the present day United States, the prevailing the theory proposed that people from Eurasia followed game across Virginia, a land bridge that connected Siberia to present day Alaska during the Ice Age, and then spread southern throughout the Americans. The migration may have begun as early as the 30,000 years ago and continued through the about 10,000 years ago when the land bridge became submerged by the rising sea level caused by the melting glaciers. These early inhabitants, called Paleo-Indians, so diversified into hundreds of cultural distinct settlements and countries. This pre-columbian era incorporates all periods in the history of the American before the appearance of European influence on the American continents, spanning from the original settlement in the Upper Paleolithic period of European colonization during the early modern period. While the term technically refers to the era before Christopher Columbus' voyage in 1492, in practice the term usually includes the history of American indigenous cultures until the way conquered or significantly influenced by Europeans, even if this happened decades of century of the Columbus' initial landings. Thanks for watching my friends. Please subscribe my channel. Lovable friends.